Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
The University of North Carolina School of the Arts trains talented students from high school to graduate school for professional careers in the performing, visual, and film, and also television arts. I recently spoke to Chancellor John Mauceri about this unique school in our state. Chancellor Mauceri, welcome to North Carolina Now.
Thank you, Esther. Good to be here.
I should start out by saying congratulations. Kiplinger recently named your school as one of the best for the value. UNC Chapel Hill got #1, but you made the top 100 at 61. Congratulations.
It's pretty wonderful. I mean, we are the smallest school in the system, and by far, I mean, we're 0.5% of the population of the UNC system, and to make it into the top 100, best values in the United States of America, and we're a school of the arts, is pretty wonderful. And that says a lot about the kids and the faculty and the staff and the history of that school.
And it used to be called the School of the Arts. Now it's called the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. But I think still a lot of people didn't even know that we had such a school.
Yeah, that's when I became chancellor 4 years ago. This is my 4th year, so it's really 3 years and change. One of the things that I learned was that the school had not actually told its story that well, even within the state. So the school was created in 1963, and it is the first public arts conservatory in the United States of America, which is amazing. And it says a lot about the vision of the people of North Carolina. You can go through the history of the visionaries of North Carolina back to the founding of Chapel Hill when George Washington was president. I mean, no state was doing what North Carolina was doing then. So when this school was created, it was the first time in the United States of America that public funding created an art school. And what made it unique, among many things, was that the idea was to train kids to be performers, not to study the history of the art, but to actually become dancers, become actors, become designers. And the faculty would be professional artists. At the same time, giving the kids traditional degrees, so they were still studying math and chemistry and physics and history, and we are still that. But what also makes us unique is that we have a high school as well as a college as well as a small graduate program.
I sort of think of it as the fame of North Carolina. That shows how old I am.
Yeah, how about High School Musical 4? So the high school kids are mostly the ballet kids, and they're visual artists, and they're actors in their senior year. And then the college is music. This is what also makes it unique, because it's music, dance, drama, filmmaking, and design and production. And design and production means that every hair on the wigs that the kids wear, the shoes, everything is designed and built by the kids. So whereas other conservatories might have an opera program or a symphony orchestra, when they do a performance, they'll frequently outsource and hire professionals outside the school to build the scenery and do all that. But at our school, the entire village, as it were, creates everything from the idea to doing it to sweeping up after it's over.
How does that prepare them for the real world?
Well, that's another thing about the School of the Arts, is because we actually are a vocational school. You could look at it that way, because we actually are preparing them for jobs. Over 95% of our design and production kids have jobs before they graduate.
And are they in the performing arts, or?
Well, they are. You see, about a third of our school is the backstage people, the people who run the show, who build it, who paint it, who make sure it's safe, who are the ones who pull the curtain up and down. I mean, that's the whole, when you go to the theater, you go to the movies, or movies is a good example. You go to the movies and you see, when the movie's over, you see what we call a crawl that goes on for 7 minutes with like thousands of people's names. Well, we train our kids to be those people. Sometimes they become very famous directors and they become famous actors, but sometimes, sometimes they're the ones that make the show happen. So we're training all of that. For example, when we did the Nutcracker this past December, everybody, from the people literally who did, the kids in the orchestra, the kids backstage, all of that, we're all kids, and they painted it. Now, remember, that requires a real technical challenge, because you get a design, and the design is this big, and then you have to turn that into a drop that's the whole size of the theater. So you have to take it, make it big, hang it, make sure it's safe, and do all that. And then you sweep up, in fact, the snowflakes at the end of Act One.
You know, a lot of economists are saying that 2010 will be a little bit better, although not back to where we were, far away from where we were. And a lot of people are still cutting back, especially in the arts. See a lot of museums, a symphony suffering. What are you seeing in your students in reacting to some of these downsizings? Is there still that passion, that drive to become someone who in this economy may not be hired?
Well, you know, Esther, last year was probably the worst year any CEO of any school could possibly have had, because we were being threatened from the outside. Being a state institution, as the state's money was going down, they were cutting back on us. So it would be 3%, it would be 5%, it would be 7%, whatever the number was, and it was retroactive. So, in other words, it wasn't just that starting next month we're going to cut you back 5%, but we're going to cut you back 5% from the beginning of the fiscal year. So the actual money was going down like that.
So you had a lot less to work with.
That's right, and we never canceled one of our 300 performances on campus. And what the kids did, we had two ways to react to this, which was to fall apart, you know, cannibalize ourselves, or pull ourselves together. And in a funny way, though no one would ever wish this, I think the downturn was the best thing that could have happened because of what it forced artists to do, which is what we fundamentally do. We're the can-do people. So we never canceled a performance. I mean, some of the kids who were designers didn't have the materials to build their designs. So we had people volunteer to let someone chop down the tree in the backyard and build the lumber from the tree that we did. We had some production, one production where the designs were hanging in the lobby, so you could imagine what it would have been, and then the kids performed in their regular street clothes. So I would say that the fire in these kids is the same. In fact, I think last year kind of galvanized the entire campus into understanding how really great it is to be an artist, how lucky we are, what our responsibility is to keep on going. Because what happens in downturns? People turn to entertainment always, because it teaches us, it transcends the day-to-day life.
Plus people have more time.
Well, there's that too. But I mean, look, we just came out of this past year in Hollywood, you know, had the first $10 billion year. And one movie, Avatar, brought in $1 billion in its first 16 days. I think it's not that everybody's going to be James Cameron, but I think every artist, whether they're in that kind of world or whether they're designing the Charlotte Children's Theater's production of Beauty and the Beast, which one of our recent grads just did, it's tremendously fulfilling. And these kids do get jobs. I mean, you know, a couple of months ago, Cirque du Soleil looked at its best employees and knew that they were going to hire thousands more technicians and designers in the future, because they're everywhere. You know, Cirque is everywhere. And they looked to see where they were trained, and they found out it was at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. So they had their first workshop ever on our campus for the whole southeast region of the United States. Now, for a little school, that is amazing. So it is about jobs. We do train our kids to earn a living within society and share what they do with people.
Very exciting. Thank you so much for stopping by.
I'm glad to be here, Esther.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.